never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, folks. How you doing? It's another Monday CFN Live, and sorry we got a late start, but we always have a lot of fun backstage. There's always, I'll tell you, if it wasn't for a couple of the F sharps and what have you, and I'm just as guilty as anyone, I'd love to share some of that stuff because there's some great discussions that we have backstage. It's entertaining, and I'll tell you, this is truly why I love and look forward to Mondays. Not only those conversations, but of course the conversations with you folks. Jeremy, how you doing, my friend? Manny's in the house. How you doing? And you have an upcoming wedding anniversary, so happy anniversary to you and the Sauce Queen. Alicia, how you doing, Alicia? Nice to see you. Tony's in the house. Lloyd's here. Yeah, baby. Eve, always a pleasure to see you as well. Sonia, are you fishing? Sonia, you're probably out fishing right now. Bob, always a pleasure to see you, my friend, too. Oh, it's today, Manny. Well, congratulations. Warren, what's up, Warren? All the way from Horwood Lake Lodge. And we'll be getting to that and many other announcements. Again, proud to have this group, my panel that's backstage. But equally as proud is our legacy members and those who are doing our edits. So at this time, it's really important. We still have a scare, but we had a really big scare. Unfortunately, this past weekend. If you folks didn't know, Steve Shaw kind of got rushed to hospital. He is stabilized now. Let's just say he has had an attack or an inflammation of his pancreas. They moved him out of ICU, so he's in stable condition, but he's in an awful lot of pain. We're hoping that he turns the corner when it comes to his health, but I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. Stevie's going to be down and out for a little while, and I tell you, love the guy. As I said, Dawn is such a strong woman. It was a tough weekend. It was nip and tuck, and weren't really necessarily sure how it was all going to end up. But Steve's right now, hopefully resting. He's been doing a lot of sleeping, which, you know what, he's been busy with all our edits. As you will see with this here, he does a lot of stuff for us. And folks, at this time, I will suggest that it's probably not in your best interest to reach out to him because he's resting. But it would be awesome if we could somehow show the love. And even if you see an edit or just want to post something, maybe you want to share the edit that Steve has done for you, send it back to me. And I'm going to put montages like this together just to give our buddy something to look forward to when he's able to. But just a reminder, as I said, Steve is down and out. So if you're sending him stuff personally, you're not going to get a response for a while. He's going to be on the limb for a bit, and we're just hoping that everything works out. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Shaw family, who unfortunately just celebrated Serena's or what would have been Serena's birthday. She's loved and never forgotten, but they just finished celebrating that, and unfortunately got bamboozled with this. So again, all I can ask is that everybody put the big man in your thoughts. If you are interested in putting something together to commemorate what he's done and what he means to you, I'm willing to put a montage together. So reach out to me on Messenger, with your edit, maybe a phrase of well wishes and what have you. But as I said, right now our buddy Steve is down and out, and will be for a while. So Walt and I are going to do our best to try and keep everything under control, the inbox and everything else. We want to continue to do this even without Steve being around, and Walt and I will persevere and figure it out. But yeah, Steve, we're thinking of you, dude. We're hoping that you get better, and we can see you up and at 'em real soon. So to the entire Shaw family, CFN's thinking about you. That's the best thing I can say at the time, because it did take the wind out of the sails when I found out on Friday that he was being taken to the hospital. So Stevie, love you. Hope you recover, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. CFN Fish Off has just concluded. We have just wrapped up the last bit of the prizing. What is happening now is the judges, of course, are working very feverishly behind the scenes. If you had a prize that was awarded in a random draw within the 6 weeks of our online tournament, and you have the potential to upgrade, that's what they're reaching out to you right now to do. So they're going to get your addresses, they're going to find out what it is you want, and then they're going to contact those who are the runners up. So as I said, right now the judges and Mike are earning their keep, to say the least, but they're working very hard because we want to get those prizes out as soon as possible. So please be patient. We're working on it, and we will do our best to make sure that you get what you won and deserve. Again, Horwood Lake Lodge, it would not be a CFN Live without mentioning the importance of our 5th annual Horwood Lake Lodge CFN retreat. Really looking forward to getting back up there. Love this place. Absolutely love this place. And I'll tell you what, take a look at some of these pics in this video, and you'll understand why. So Horwood Lake Lodge, it is August 13th to the 19th. It includes your bed. It includes all your food. You're welcome to bring whatever snacks, of course, whatever drinks you want to bring. We're certainly not going to discourage you from that, but just so you know, it includes all your food. It includes somewhere to lay your head at the end of the day, and of course, a boat rental if need be. So $875 plus tax. It's a good deal, and I'll tell you, the fishing is second to none. I'm seeing a lot of the comments come in here. Sorry to hear about Steve. Yeah, Eve, we are too. As I said, he's a huge part of our community, and the bolstering and the propping up and the pat on the back of our community. So yeah, 100%. Steve just unfortunately has fallen ill. It was very serious Friday. It's not to say it's not serious now. It's just it's something that hopefully they're going to get under control. Brad, yeah, now you get to find out just how much he did. Yeah, 100%. He does a lot. So as I said, we are going to miss him, and unfortunately, it probably doesn't look like he's going to be able to make it to Horwood. But bait is included up at Horwood as well. So there you go. All your bait is included as well in that $875. So we've had some late folks that have called in. but there's still lots of room. So please don't hesitate to call Warren, call Doris, get your butt booked in a bed. Love to see you up there. So that's August 13th to the 19th. And of course, right after that, we are going to be up at Camp McIntosh for the second annual OFC Nation retreat. And there is not much room left here. So please make sure you reach out to Tracy and Andre ASAP to get a bed booked for yourself. Because I tell you, there's not a lot of space left. And again, there's a lot of great pics that we've been sharing on Monster Monday from Camp McIntosh, including a few of these.
Where are you going, Don?
Camp McIntosh.
Yeah, baby.
So just under $400 gets you to Camp McIntosh. It's a 3-day, 2-night event. Again, includes a boat rental. It includes all your food and, of course, somewhere to lay your head. Can't thank these folks enough for offering up, their lodges for us to, get together, do our meet and greets. And I will say, I know Stevie is planning on going to this, so we're going to look forward to seeing this. Steve Shaw and perhaps maybe somebody else from the Shaw family who will accompany him up at Camp McIntosh. Again, right now, Tracy and Andre will take your calls, and we're looking forward to having yet another great year, another great OFC Nation retreat. And if he's going to join us later tonight, Moose will share also some of his, look back maybe at year one at Camp McIntosh. Anyway, folks, as I said, I really appreciate all the great things that you're saying about Steve and Chuck. You had a great event on the weekend up at Algoma. Cheers to you and all the kids that you put a smile on the face. That kind of work, we're going to talk about it with Jim. That kind of work sometimes doesn't get, its due. And we'd love to be able to do more on our end. So if you have a kids event that you are either participating in, volunteering, what have you, send us some pics. Let us see it. I will certainly share it on Monday Live so that we can give it that due that it's deserved of. And again, it's all about the kids because that is the future of our industry. With that, of course, the big man is up next. But I'm sorry, there was a couple other things I had to mention too. Walleye Wars. Folks, this is currently going on right now. If you are looking to sign up, go to MyCatch and Anglers Atlas. It's there. Click on the icon, but there's still time. And as I said, a Garmin Live Scope is up for grabs. So don't delay. Sign up. You still got time. There's still a lot of chances for you folks to win. And as I said, there's some great prizes. Big man's up next, right after this word. I forgot that. Sorry, Jim.
Turn me on. Turn me
I'm
on.
sorry. I just got an update from Dawn, his wife. She just literally sent it over as I was about to click on you. She just left a little while ago. Had another shot of dilaudid before we left. Hopefully,
Dilaudid, yeah.
hopefully
Synthetic
we'll
morphine.
yeah, what's that?
Synthetic morphine.
Okay. So it's allowing him to rest, and hopefully they hear something from the doctor tomorrow. But as I said, Jim, I know you wanted to know, and you've been extremely supportive, and I can't thank you enough for that. But yeah, his pancreas is so inflamed that they just can't look at it. They can't see what's wrong with it. But anyway, he's resting. He'll see this. We'll shame him with it maybe when he comes to. But
Get some pictures of him while he's
that's it.
We're all nice to him now. As soon as we know he's okay, game
100%.
on under the bus.
Well, it was interesting because Friday, when I called, he was still somewhat alert, but in an incredible amount of pain. And when Don said it's Scotty, do you want to talk to him? He's like, no. And when he doesn't want to talk, he's in a lot of pain.
If they're giving him Dilaudid, he's not in much pain.
Not right now, no, that's for sure. No, 100%.
That stuff is offside.
Well, it's hopefully helping. He is still, as I said, in a lot of pain, but for right now, he's coping. One thing, though, Jim, that he loves just as much as all of us, including yourself, are these kids events. You were at one on the weekend. Dude, how many years have you been doing this? Like, it's incredible. And you could see just by the smiles and how excited you get, how much you enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I didn't stick around as long as I should. Saturday was a crap day for me. I just felt like a bag of dirt all day. I don't know what it was. I went to the gym in the morning. I was all gung ho. I was first in the door and everything. I came out and then my day was like this, just downhill.
Wow.
So it's what it is. So I went over for a few hours in the afternoon, but the high point of the thing is I'm down there and I'm watching. This kid runs up, he's got a net with a bullfrog in it. And he's got 15 kids with him. They didn't care about the fish. Somebody caught a bullfrog.
Yeah.
I never saw a bullfrog before. They always see leopard frogs. The
Yeah.
bullfrog, it wasn't eating size, but it was getting there, It was cool. And they wanted to know what kind of frog it was and everything else. And then some kid came up with, some kid caught, I guess, I'm not up on this stuff. I guess it was a moon eye. Because I know they're in the Ottawa River and it's the Mississippi River, which runs into it and whatever. It was probably about 13 inches long, got great big eyes, And they had that, and they caught some chubs. One of the kid had a chub there. It had to weigh like a pound, if not more.
Wow.
Yeah. Apparently the river's full of them, and they had little walleyes, little smallies, and all kinds of stuff. And I fished in this little piece of river. It's below Almont, Ontario. Like 25 years ago, 30 years ago for walleyes, one spring, like intensely for like a week. And we Lindy rigged, fish from 24 to 32 inches out of this little river because they're all up this, I guess it's probably about a 10-mile stretch that goes up to the big waterfalls in Almont.
Gotcha.
They were just all dropping back down. They were maybe a couple of miles below town working, spreading back out in the river like they do to their summer haunts, and we just laid waste. It was like crazy. It was like stupid. We're catching like 40, 50, 60 fish a day. And like a lot of them are like 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds, and you could hear the church bells ringing.
Wow.
I still remember that plain as day. So, it's really nice to go up north, and I've been right to the Arctic Ocean and Great Bear Lake and, Slave Lake and all these places and everything. But man, there are huge fishing opportunities right in your backyard. Well, look at my house. 20 minutes from here, the smallmouth's in the St. Lawrence. It's the best smallmouth fishery in the world. I mean, it's on debate. It's not even a debate anymore that, the eastern basin of Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence is the best. Like you were talking before, the tournament on the weekend, they win with 71 pounds, and that's a decent weight, not the best, like.
And to me, that seems like a lot of weight. I know you had mentioned, and so did Jay, about the 100 pounds that had been a couple years back.
Yeah, that was the elite.
That to me, 71 pounds, 15 ounces is what Jody White, he finally tallied in after his 3 days and won the Bassmaster Open on the St. Lawrence. To me, 71 pounds is certainly nothing to sneeze at. But for
Oh no.
some of you know, longer in the tooth, better sticks than I. That's just an average weight.
Well, it's one thing to catch fish. It's another thing to know you're gonna and why.
Yeah.
Anybody can go drag a lure around and catch fish, and when you start being able to figure out why you're catching them, that's when you really escalate to another level. When you could picture what's happening and why and that type of thing. It's absolutely huge. But I thought it was cool after I said, I know this guy's name from somewhere. I've seen him before somewhere, and his comments on the stage. And then I found out after he used to be a cameraman for FLW when the Johnson brothers fished in FLW.
Oh, no way! Wow.
So he certainly knew where the fish were in the river. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not implying in any way spot picking or whatever, that kind of thing. But man, I mean, he knew what to look for. He filmed these guys, all the guys, for years. And he's from Vermont. He's like a really good fisherman. Like, he's like a dynamite fisherman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. You don't do that you don't do that because Corey Johnson fishes beside that the little island. That's even Corey couldn't catch fish where they were.
Yeah,
He sort of won that going away, and
he was leaving after day 2. He had to me a whopping 49.9 pounds. But as like I tell you, you old sticks that know your thing, that's below average for there, 100%. But you know what? It unfortunately it humbles all of us. At least I would have a hard day 1 as well, but nothing to be ashamed at by any means.
Like I was telling you, though, 2 weeks ago they had a tournament behind my house here, Dog and Cranberry Lake, and almost 26 pounds won, and 10th place was 20 pounds. It's people that are like the fishing right now in the world is like they'll say, oh, you should have been here 50 years ago or something. The smallmouth, the bass fishing has never been this good. Smallmouth, it's not even close. Like, we've been over this so many times. It's not even close. It's like just doesn't. It's not in the not in the ballpark. Not even close.
And as Jerry says, did Corey run out of fluff? It was being used a lot. Is there a tournament angler, Jim, that doesn't use fluff now?
In the no. I mean, I still have guys phoning me up. I need to get some of that fluff from you. Can I get a half ounce? And I say, well, I don't do that. I don't make that. How come? Well, because that's not what it is.
Yeah.
This is about 3/32 1/8, 8 or 10 pound braid, 6 or 8 pound fluorocarbon, a rod that you can cast these jigs with, and you have to be able to do it. Primarily it's shallow, clear water. Like literally, there's 2 big boulders 50 feet ahead of you, and you've caught fish there before, so the jig goes way past the boulders, and you just swim it back past them, and if they're there, they let you know. And there's not too many days that they won't. I mean, I brought Robert, one of the shops down in Cornwall, their tight lines. I brought him down 100, and he told me, he said, we sold like 80 of them already. Like, people are just, I got guys, individuals buying 40, 50, 60, 70 from me. A couple of color options, like they're getting some avocado. But I mean, black is the deal. I'm not saying you can't go out and catch a bunch of fish on avocado, but black is the deal. And I'll liken this back to, I had a chat with Ricky Clun many, many years ago about color. And I asked him, I said, I notice a lot of the stuff you use is solid colors. Like, you'll never see him with these natural looking things that look like a bait fish and stuff like that. That doesn't enter it. And I'm like that too. I don't need that. I'm more like a solid color type guy. Mm-hmm. And I asked him why I saw him with black so often and white second. And he said, because black offers 0 negative cues to the fish. There's nothing there that the fish should reject. It's all black. There's nothing the fish should reject. You put an eye on it, he might not like the eye. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He might, but he might not. So if you eliminate the eye, you don't have to worry about it.
Wow.
Because there's something about straight colors. Yeah, and like when Rocky and I fished together, all our plastic was either black or dirty brown colors, and we got really funky. We'd go to Junebug, which is basically dark purple with a bit of little green fleck in it, And that was us going out on the live. That was like disco time.
That's hilarious. So Alicia said every boat at the Open had fluff tied on. Jim, I would have to say, has this been your busiest year of tying?
Oh, I've never dreamed. I thought I had enough heads I had bought from Bill, who's pouring them for me now, and painting them in that. I thought I had enough heads to last me easily till the beginning of next year. And I put the last 19 in a box here for a buddy of mine.
Wow.
He called me and he said to me, "Can you make me these?" And I said, "That's 18." He got, "Yeah." And I said, "I got 19 left. You're getting a free one." But I said, "I'm going to jack the price up a quarter, so you're really not." But no, I split.
Wow.
But well, I got these here. Mike phoned me from Fishing World last night. What I've done today so far for him. He said, "Give me something different," so I gave him some black with a little bit of purple on the bottom.
Nice.
It's a phenomenon, but if you're not doing it right, it's just another jig.
Yeah,
It's just another jig. It's just another
great way
jig.
to put it.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, there was a video that you shared with me, and unfortunately, I didn't get it uploaded in time for live. But we wanted to talk about the importance of understanding how fish eat, and that video depicts exactly what it is that you wanted to talk about tonight.
Yeah, like when you watch I got fish. I'm pretty sure it's an arapaima.
Yep.
And I don't know what it weighs, 80, 100 pounds. It's big, and they drop a 3-pound fish in the tank. And it's this far away from him, and he just goes and eats it. Fish don't come up and go like this on things. They don't bite. The guy said, "Oh, that's not true. I caught a muskie. The lure was across his mouth." And I said, "Well, that's because it was wood and it didn't fold up and go down his throat." Or the hooks got stuck in his mouth on the way in. And guys will bring a fish out and there'll be a bite mark on it, and they say, "Oh, it had to be a muskie." No, it was a snapping turtle. And you'll see them with the big cuts on their sides.
Mm-hmm.
And that the cuts are only on one side. It's a motor. That fish just happened to get in the way. In fact, somebody posted a largemouth last week with 2 cuts, and if you look at the very end, you can just see another one. It must have just touched it.
Wow.
It was enough to sort of scuff the scales, so to speak, but not knock them off. You can see the marks there, right?
Amazing to think that a fish can be hit by a boat and still survive. That's incredible.
Well, and the guy caught it. It was happy swimming around eating it.
Yeah.
But fish don't take bites off things. Especially, people see muskies with all the teeth.
Yeah.
You don't take bites. Those teeth all slant back. They're meant to, just like a shark, they all point back. They're meant to grab something and hold it, get it around and get it in. Then, as we talked earlier about sharks, you see a shark, if there's a dead whale, it takes the bite out of the blubber. It takes that bite and it doesn't chew it. It goes and swallows it. And it's just that they have to get a piece off that fits in their throat.
Yeah, there's a video out. You're 100% right, and it is Shark Week, and I'm amazed.
You like that, eh?
I'm fascinated as all get out. I'm fascinated by them, but I'll tell you, I have a fear of swimming in the ocean because I know if I swim past a shark, he's going to take one look at me and say, if I eat him, I don't have to eat for another 6 months. So I doubt my chances are going to be very good against a shark, but it's incredible watching Shark Week and learning so much about these fish. How they're fastest when it comes to regenerating tissue.
That's cool.
First and foremost, if they get hit by a boat, they'll go to shallow water. They have incredible clotting skills, so they'll stop bleeding almost immediately. But they put themselves, and it's all about self-preservation. They'll put themselves in areas where they know they're not going to be eaten, they're not going to be threatened. And there was one particular video of this massive great white shark who had kind of beached itself, and within a couple days, off it went, and it was fine, but it had a huge gash in the back of it where you could tell.
I got regenerative qualities. Look at my nose.
Dude, I swear you're just like them.
You can just see the little dark spot.
Yeah.
And they cut a piece 2/3 the size of a lima bean off my nose. The one on my back is a different thing, and the one on my leg is still a snake show from a month ago.
Oh wow.
But it is healing. It's just that they took a piece out. They were in a 1/4 of an inch,
Yeah.
When they pulled the piece up and cut it off, I knew I was in trouble.
Jeez. Okay.
I'm watching it all, eh?
I could have done without the illustration.
I wanted to take a movie of it with my camera, and they said no.
Okay. Yeah. No.
I said if I have a lawsuit, I'll have to tell them they were laughing.
But speaking of inhaling, as Alicia has put it, they do. There's a video out. It's somewhere on Instagram or YouTube. I'm not sure, but one of these kids that's braver than he should be dangles a fish into a tank with
gets knocked out.
Yes. Holy,
I want to meet that fish.
unreal. It's
And
an
he's
incredible
stiff.
video. Yeah,
You don't realize the impact, eh?
100%. Well, obviously he didn't.
And it's how fast it happens. Like when I first had it shown to me, and this was like 30 years ago, and Doug Hannon showed it to me, the guy who invented the weedless prop and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he showed it to me in a whatever you call it, film place. And they've got the film because they still were using film. So film goes through a movie camera. I think it's 26 frames per second.
Something, yeah.
It used to go through when they had all the little squares, you know. So he takes a piece of film. It's about this long. I don't know. There's like 50 of these little squares on it, and he puts it on this thing, and it's a light, and it blows it up on the wall. And he says, "Watch!" And he's taking it from square to square through this little guided thing, pulling it through. And you're watching the bass, and he's down there doing this, and he's looking at the jig. And you go to the next square, and it's gone.
Incredible.
So it's a 26th of a second.
It's incredible. And there's a lot of great videos out there that depict how these fish from the Amazon suck in that bait and how fast it's done. It's just incredible.
Whatever, well, it looks so much faster because of how big it is.
That too, 100%.
Like that fish that it eats is the size of most fish we'd be happy to catch a lot of days.
Oh, Jay just said, he said that video was proven false. Well, I'll tell you, if it was, Jay, it was very convincing when that kid fell in the tank. He looked like he was out cold.
Oh, it was, eh?
Yeah, he looked like he was out cold. So very convincing video.
Well, maybe the guy that was standing beside him was Mike Tyson.
Well, I have to say the kid did it as a prank because the thing that I was amazed at is how long it took for someone to actually go in after him to pick him out because he's out cold. The first thing you're going to do is inhale a whole bunch of water, but nonetheless, it was incredible to see how fast that.
You want to? I got this here. I got this a couple of weeks ago. You got a knock on the door. I don't know whether I showed you this or not, but the rod and reel. Did I show you this? So a guy brings this to the door.
Okay.
Like you can see it's,
dragged.
Like, anyways, he says to me, it's absolutely just chewed with salt, and you can see the dirt on it. Mm-hmm. So he comes and he says to me, he says, "Yeah, this wasn't working last fall. Like, he said it doesn't look good now because I forgot it in the back of the truck, but I wondered if Shimano could look at it and tell me if I get a replacement." And like, I'm not kidding. I was looking around for the camera crew. I thought I was on something like, what's that, Candid Camera?
Punk.
Being punked, yeah.
Ashton
I'm looking for Tom Brook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's something going on here, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, he phoned me today and asked me if they were going to replace it.
Wow.
Like,
how did you take
he
the
bought
answer?
that? I went back and looked. I sent a picture of it to one of the guys I know, and he said that's like 10 years old, 8 years old, and it was probably like $49.95. And it's it doesn't even, you can't even turn it. The salt has just sealed it right up, eh?
So you have it. So you have it in hand for what reason, Jim?
I'm going to bring it to Shimano and give it to Giles, the national fishing manager. I'm going to tell him I've been fishing with this and it's not working right. Can you get me a new NRX to replace it? We'll call it even.
Oh, hilarious!
Look what I got spooled up today.
So sweet. I love
that last bone. I've always been a small swim bait guy, eh?
Yeah.
That's I don't like big swim baits, but that's one of them, and that's the new SLX. You can tell it's got the white lettering on the side, and I couldn't believe it there. I took a few casts that I played around with it at last, and I was just telling Bob Mahoney, he phoned me just before I got on with you, and I couldn't believe how they could make it feel better, how good it feels. That's because of that silent tune thing where the little springs.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, if you blindfolded me and had me cast the different reels, and I couldn't touch the reels because I could probably tell by touching the reels what they are, I wouldn't know that this isn't like a $599 reel.
Well, and this is what I've always said, Jim. What amazes me about Shimano and the SLX line of rods is no different. The backbone, for the amount of finesse and feel that you have in that kind of rod, be able to have the kind of backbone that it has, it's truly remarkable.
They're, a rod's a rod, but well, you can say a reel's a reel too. But to make a reel feel like that, like when I go in shops, I go into Gagnon's, I sit at the reel counter and fiddle with them all.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff there that's absolutely beautiful. I think it's really, really nice. But man, there's just something special about the way Shimano does it with their features, dropping them down.
100%.
And the other thing too, like we talk about often, is that it's in their own factories. They build their own stuff, and that's the whole thing. It's huge. But those SLX rods, boy, they're the bang for the buck right now in my mind.
I couldn't agree more. And as I said, it really spoke to our community, that SLX line, whether it was the reels, whether it was just the rod. It has so much technology, so much of what Shimano's famous for, in such a reasonable priced package, and teamed up with, as I'm sure you have, the DC Corrado. It's a phenomenal combo if you can ever get your hands on it. If you love bait casters, that DC is mint. It is.
Yeah,
mint.
it doesn't have to be a Corrado. You get an SLX DC. It's much cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same system in the reel.
Yeah, and as Neil will attest, there's nothing that casts like a Shimano. Couldn't agree more. Jim, what do you got upcoming this week?
This week I'm going to tie a lot of jigs. I'm going to get my boat launched at last into the lake out back here, so I have it. I can get out and do some fishing. And I'm going to. I got a buddy of mine's going to come over and he's going to knock in a pipe and that on the edge so I can grab onto it to get in the boat, just to make sure I'm stable.
Right.
Because as you know, I just need something to lean on and I'm good.
Yeah.
Of course, once I get in the boat, I'm good. But
100%.
tomorrow morning I'll be at the gym at 6:00, and we had Tammy at the doctor again today, so we pushing the second opinion bit. The doctor didn't think it was necessary. This is her family doctor.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wait and see what goes down, and then the big day for me, the nerve scan on my body is August 8th, and I can't wait for that.
Nor can we. And
Can't wait for that. And I tell you, I was joking with Tammy today. I said, when we go down in the morning, for sure I have the cinder block in the truck. She goes, why? I said, because I'm going to the river with the rope and the cinder block if they tell me there's nothing wrong.
Jeremy's he says, why so late at the gym? Jim, I will say this: do you open it every time you go?
No, not always. Did you see the little video I made the other day? I got there on a Saturday morning, and I had a guy talking to me on the phone whom I still to this, I had no idea where he got my number or why he phoned me. But he wanted to complain about that there was no fish in his lake. So he phones me at 5:45 in the morning.
Good times.
On my cell phone to complain that there's no fish left in his lake, and who could he talk to so they could come dump some in.
Wow.
So, and then I'm not going to mention the name of the lake, but then he tells me the name of the lake, and if the door to the truck would have been open, I would have just fallen out on the ground. Like the lake is like polluted with fish.
Wow.
Everybody I know that doesn't know how to fish goes there because they know they can catch fish.
Wow.
It's one of those little gems that is really, really good. It was funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I was at the gym. I was surprised there was nobody else there on a Saturday morning like that, because usually people, Friday afternoon's big at the gym though. Friday morning, Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Monster.
100%.
But I like to get in early there. I judge it to get in right at the end of the ladies' first class.
Yeah.
So I know they're all in there working hard, and if I'm in there working at the same time, then it interrupts them because they got to watch me work out. The sweat dripping off my nose.
Jim, we really got to work on your confidence, man. I'll tell you, we really got to work on that confidence. Listen, dude, as always, my friend, thanks for the kind words about Steve and the thoughts and prayers. As I said, you're a gentleman, you are a scholar, and we are just proud to have you a part of our community, man.
Cool. I'm happy to be with you guys. You know that.
No, 100%, dude. We wouldn't be the same without you. You have yourself a great week, my friend.
Always be safe, kiddies. Put a life jacket on. I was saying to Tammy today, we were driving her back from the doctor in Ottawa. I said I'm going to phone Mike Jackson or Justin again. I might do it. Got to go to Gagnon's Thursday. So if I go, I'm going to see if I got to get one of those life jackets. The ones that the blow up ones, because they had about 20 of them, and they've just all absconded with people. They get on the boat, they put them on, and they leave with them on.
It happens.
Like, that's not a hat. You know what I mean? That costs $169. But anyways, I'm going to buy a new one, and I'm going to make a point of wearing it, especially if I'm alone in the boat.
Yeah.
Just so I have it, because it's the way I am. I take a wobble the wrong way. You never know.
100%, buddy. 100%.
And I'm too old to be climbing up the back of the boat, I think. It's nice to having the ladder on the back of the lug, though. If I need to get in, I can always slug my way up it, I'm sure.
True enough, buddy. Well, you
Or
listen.
just have a pizza delivered in the boat and not climb right in.
Well, we look forward to the pics. We look forward to seeing you out in the water enjoying yourself.
I'd pay to watch me climb in the side of that.
I'm sure there's a few of us that would. No, I'm kidding. That's terrible.
Bugger, man, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm out.
All right, buddy. All the best, my friend. Love you. You take care, dude. All the best.
Buddy. Be good, man. Bye.
Word from our sponsor, right? Lawrence, right after this.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Gunther in the house. He has returned after a rejuvenating family vacay. And unfortunately, can't hear any of it. So we lost Lawrence there for a little bit, and he's back. We have his producer, the lovely producer in the background there. Hopefully.
Yeah. What about now, buddy?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Fantastic.
Thanks, sweetie. Thank you.
Beautiful. Right on.
All right.
But yes, back from a rejuvenating family vacay. Nice to see you again, Lawrence. As always, my friend. Tell us a little bit about what you did, what you fished, who you saw.
We rode at Sandbanks. I've been going there since I was a kid, but steadily since 2006. So every summer, except for 2 years, 2017 and 2019, the campgrounds were underwater. We had those two lake flood events on Lake Ontario. But I'm on West Lake, got a waterfront site there. So, the kids can watch the loons, the big frogs are there. And I bring my porta boat, my blind fishing boat, build it right there on the shore, shove it in the water with the electric motor, and off we go. I taught my kids to fish there. Like my youngest is 15 now. So he's been fishing there since he was a baby and caught their first fish. So every year, it's a bit of a ritual. We put that boat together, put it in the water, go fishing, we catch pike, bass. They start them off on panfish, and then in the evening we go after the bass and the pike. Sometimes we get into a bowfin. They're pretty crazy fish, eh? The dogfish, they fight hard.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. They, if you've never caught one, and I'm sure most of the folks on this call have, the difference between a bowfin and almost any other fish. The only fish that I would say that would equal in strength and spunk would be a smallmouth bass. They fight like the dickens too, but yeah, those bowfin, man, they can be a nasty fish.
And they get big, like 6, 7 pounds, 8 pounds.
Yeah. They can be a nasty fish.
Oh yeah.
So,
my mother ate it. My mother insisted we keep it, and she cooked it.
She ate the bowfin?
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever tried it. What does it taste like?
Yeah, she said it wasn't great. Very bony. Very bony.
Well, that's the name. Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking of you. I was watching a lot of stuff as Shark Week, and there's a few other things on the Discovery Channel. It's amazing to see what they're doing out in the Pacific Ocean. That huge island of plastic that they're removing. They have these massive booms. They're doing their very best to clean it up. I don't believe that they're necessarily, I would say, taking a huge chunk away at this point, but you can just see the amount of plastic that has accumulated in this island, and they have got a Herculean effort ahead of them to try and get the last bit of it. But in the meantime, what was really interesting was they were showing how weather events can actually pick this plastic, like it's evaporating water from the ocean. It can pick this plastic up, circulate it in the cloud, and eventually dump it in areas that they would never in a million years have seen plastic. And of course, they're finding plastic in just about every tissue of every fish around the Hawaiian Islands because of this big bloom. But it's nice to see that we're actually starting to clean this mess up.
Yeah, there's been a few attempts, that one young guy, that one young boy, he raised all that money to create these giant vacuum cleaner ships. And he got a lot of criticism because they said for the amount of oil they're burning and resources they're using and contributing to climate change to suck the plastic up, they're not making a lot of progress. But unfortunately, a lot of the plastic is in the microplastic sort of size, right? So, you think you go out there, you're going to see just lots of junk, but most of it, I think 75% of it is old fishing gear. So it's old nets and floats and things like that. Yeah. And that stuff can last for 500 years before it breaks down naturally. And the other 25% are old pop bottles and Nike shoes and stuff that falls off container ships and gets swept out to sea. And it'll break down to maybe 100 to 200 years. So it's long lasting. And like I said, remember that movie Sharknado, where the sharks get sucked up into the tornadoes and drop? That's exactly what you're talking about, right? And, this microplastic. Well,
not exactly what we're talking about, but yes, the concept is there.
Hey, did you hear about the great white off the coast of New Brunswick? So there was a guy, he was out fishing with a couple of his buddies on his 27-foot fishing boat, and they were fishing for mackerel. So they had stopped the motor and they were just sitting there chatting. And they look out and they see this giant shark fin, this dorsal fin coming towards them. And it was a 12-foot great white shark. So the shark circles the boat, gives them the stink eye, and then comes up behind the boat, opens his mouth, and does a little chew on the swim platform at the back of the boat, then goes under the boat, gives the side of the boat a big whack with his tail, and swims off. And they got it on video. They got it on video as it comes up to the back of the boat, and then they turn the camera off just as the fish was passing underneath and whacked the bottom of the boat with its tail. But these fish are fearless, eh? They're fearless.
They are. It was interesting. One of the episodes yesterday was the Meg versus the great white, and they were trying to depict, because scientists feel that perhaps the great white had a direct effect to the decline of the Meg. And it's kind of hard to believe how a fish the size of a megalodon could be impacted by the great white. But of course, a great white swims faster, it's more agile, and it can hit those tender tissues that line where the gills are. So it's hard to believe that a fish that was 3 times the size of a great white somehow
fell to the great white.
Fell, lost the war. But the great white it's an interesting, all sharks that I'm fascinated at, as we talked about with Jim, how they can regenerate tissue as fast as they do, how they were able to clot any of the scars, and these fish look like they've been through a war. Every time you see one, the chunks and the scars, eyes have been gouged out, like one doesn't have a fin, like it's just, and most of this is all from mating. It has nothing to do with the dominance of food.
It's rough. It's rough sex, that's for sure. Sharks are not polite about that. And the population of the sharks is growing. They're tagging great whites and off the east coast of North America. And they're finding out, a lot of them end up in Canada. Now's the time that they're arriving in Canada, off Atlantic Canada. Yeah. And so we've got a lot of seals for them to harass out there. And they're taking full advantage of it. Every year, more and more great whites show up because they've heard that this is the place to chow down on the seal buffet. And it's keeping the seals pretty much pinned down, which is a blessing for the fish stocks, because the fish stocks, the seals used to roam far and wide chasing down the fish stocks off Atlantic Canada for the last 20 or so years. And but now they don't have free range anymore. Those great whites are pinning them down on the shore. So they're doing their job. These apex predators, like all apex predators, are keeping the entire food chain in balance.
Yeah, it's incredible. They are remarkable fish, and as we are seeing, and Brad just mentioned, they are starting to show up in an alarming rate on our East Coast. They want to say they go so far as to say they've had a population explosion of great whites, and to have that many predators within an area, there's got to be a huge food sources. So as you mentioned, those seals, be on the lookout because you're already being stalked.
Oh yeah. And Canada still declares the great white shark as endangered, and in many places around the world they are still endangered. But they've taken a shine to Canada, right? Yeah. They've taken a shine to Canada. So, is there more of them? Are they just getting fed, better? So they're having more pups or whatever they call their babies. Yeah. I think we know so little about them. We're tracking a number of them now. We're learning about them, but we know so little about the great whites and how they the whole population regeneration thing. For the most part, the shark population on the Atlantic coast of North America is rebounding quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And they say it's almost becoming problematic. The sharks are moving closer and closer to shore. And they say it has a lot to do with these shark tourism outfits, where they throw in a lot of chum. They put some people in a dive cage, lower it over the side of the boat, and let the sharks swim around them, that they attract with chum. So the sharks have become habituated to these boats and to the area because, if you're taking a bunch of tourists out to, swim with the sharks, even if they're inside a cage, if you don't have to go, the closer you can stick the land, the less gas you're going to burn and the more tours you can do in a day. So, they whether it's intentional or not, the sharks are moving closer to shore down around Florida and along the coast there. Yeah, so people are saying it's getting more problematic.
You're right, and they've learned the error of their ways in places like Australia, New Zealand, where chumming is no longer allowed. You can't chum just for the sake of what you're talking about, because of course it rings the dinner bell. But speaking of ringing the dinner bell, I'm going to ask your opinion, and I know it's far fetched, but there are, any conspiracy theory that's out there, there are suggestions that Megalodon could possibly still exist in our oceans. There are a lot of folks in science that would say otherwise, but the fact that their teeth are still showing up, I wouldn't say in great numbers, but you're still seeing them. Would you at all believe for a second that there's a Megalodon out there?
I think, we would know. We would know. These things, they don't, it's like the Loch Ness Monster, right? I mean, wouldn't just be one. There'd be many, and they'd be reproducing, and they'd, it's not one and done. There'd be a bunch, or there's none.
100%. Alicia is suggesting that perhaps great whites are just showing up because Canadians taste better.
or maybe more generous. We get better chum. We do better chum,
100%. Now, obviously, there's a topic that is hot on your mind that you wanted to pay homage to and spend some time talking about. Blind Bay in the St. Lawrence. It needs our help. Why is that?
It does. Blind Bay is on the American shore of the upper St. Lawrence River. It's just probably across from Brockville, I'm thinking. It's in that area. It's one of the last remaining sort of large wetlands on the shore that follows the shore of the St. Lawrence River. And for some reason, the U.S. Coast Guard has decided to build a large base there for their interception vessels, their rescue vessels, a full operational base with docks and wharfs and all of the above, that you would imagine when they're housing all these large boats, good size boats too. I'm not sure the size, but probably in the 100 to 200 foot range, many of them. It's not going to be a small thing at all. And so there was some polite letters sent 2 years ago from Save the River, which is where the Upper St. Lawrence Waterkeeper is housed in Clayton, New York, to the U.S. Coast Guard, saying, "Hey, maybe you want to look for another spot because this is really this is a nursery for baby muskie and everything else that comes under muskie." So the Thousand Islands Biological Research Station they release all the musky fingerlings, which are probably around 6 inches when they're letting them go now, into that area, because it's really the only nursery left where you could release a small muskie. All the other wetlands have been removed. So this is one of the few remaining potential nurseries for small muskie, and they didn't get a positive response. The U.S. Coast Guard said, well, we'll do an environmental examination at some point, but it's cursory, and they've got their mind made up. So in steps the Thousand Island Foundation, and they buy up the land, right, from the owners, a big stretch of it with donated money. And you think, problem solved, right? Now it's been turned over. An environmental organization bought up the land, bought up that strip of coastline there, and said, you know what, we own it now. You guys can piss off. No, not at all. The U.S. Coast Guard comes back and says, you know what, we could just take it from you, and we're still interested in it. So just because you bought it doesn't mean you're going to own it, and for long. So the U.S. Coast Guard is pushing ahead with their so-called environmental assessment and their other assessments that they're doing. And so they've got U.S. senators involved. They got U.S. Congress people involved from both sides of the party, both parties, Republicans and Democrats. They brought them out on the water. They've shown them this watershed here, this wetland on the coast. And they said, this is really important. They've suggested other shoreline that might be more suitable and less harmful to the ecosystem. In letters, no response. Even with senators, like top senators and Congress people, they're just not getting a positive response from the U.S. Coast Guard. They're still moving ahead. And I've been saying for the last year, I said, look, do you want us to get involved from Canada? Because we have the International Joint Commission. We have the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission. These are international, joint commissions between Canada and the United States. We can start to maybe bring some Canadian pressure onto this, because these muskie, they don't understand the international boundary. They're Canadian, they're American, depending on which side of the river they're feeding on that day. Right. So when I offered that last year, I got a bit of a silence, and I think it was my U.S. friends thinking, if they invite us Canadians to pile on, they're going to look like traitors, like it just doesn't look good to it when you have to invite your cousins in the north to help you out. This is something they should be able to handle internally. Well, I think that has now slipped away. There's a petition out. If you look at our Facebook post from Bluefish Canada, you can find a link to that petition. Over 1,000 people have signed it so far on both sides of the border. It's time we get involved in saving Blind Bay.
So this is the image that you've shared on Bluefish Canada, Save Blind Bay, and oppose what is happening. Jay, you mentioned something that it's just truth, that if the coasties want it and government can declare eminent domain and expropriate the land, it can be done that quickly. But like you said, with these international agencies, we can lobby and we can propose change. We can propose another site. Let's face it, the St. Lawrence has got lots of shoreline. I'm sure this isn't the only place that we could build something like this.
Well, that's there, and there's more suitable shoreline. So why this? Why this particular spot? Just because, who knows, right? They have their strategic analysis. They have their, it's defense secrets why they want to pick this spot. They're not going to share that information, but it's just because it's there and because there's lots of it and because there's not much going on around there. They think, well, it's a good chunk of, it's a good piece of shoreline there. Let's grab it up, and no one's going to complain because it's just all weeds. So it could be that simple, right? It could be that simple, and then some bureaucrats who think, well, we don't have to listen to anybody. We're calling the shots here. It's in our area of control. We'll do what we want to do. So I think we just have to escalate it until more politicians get involved and it becomes more of an issue. And hopefully we can prevent this from happening.
100%. And Jeremy brings up a good point. And I think for some reason I saw this. There was a Blind Bay documentary not that long ago, and I do believe it was talking about muskie and how it's affected by urbanization. If I'm not correct,
Yep, absolutely. They've done some great work. There's a lot of people putting a lot of resources and energy and money into fighting this battle. And like I said, it's been going on now, I think, for 2.5 years. And, you know, they thought they won the battle a year ago. And then last year they realized they hadn't won the battle. And, you know, it's still, they just won't take no. They won't take no. But at some point, this is government. It's a democracy. You know, at what point will they listen to the people? Right.
Yeah.
You know, and the people are speaking out on behalf of the fish. And that gives me incredible hope, is that you have a whole constituency, a bipartisan constituency, saying, we don't want these jobs. We don't want this development in this area. We want this to be preserved for nature and for muskie and for the habitat. That's how well the education has been done. In you know, and let's face it, the Rust Belt on the American side is what it is, right? It's not it's an impoverished area for a large extent. And so for them to say, no thanks, you know, we don't need that big infusion of cash and jobs and construction and long-term government, you know, largesse, you know, they say, take it somewhere else. It's incredible, absolutely incredible that the people, the average people who live in that whole area, like no one in that whole area that lives there. And I've been to meetings and conferences now, and people are opposed to it in general. You read the local newspapers and the editorials, and they all are saying, not here.
Not here. Yep, 100%. It makes sense. So, folks, go over to Bluefish Canada, Bluefish Radio, or Lawrence Gunther Outdoors. This is the image. This is the photo. That is what you will see. The link will be posted either above or just below. Save Blind Bay and oppose the CBP in Blind Bay. And hopefully they hear our voice and hopefully we get our way. It would be nice for the average angler and muskie fanatic to win this battle.
Yes, sir.
Any other news snippets that you have for us tonight, Lawrence?
Well, there's lots going on the East Coast for restoring Atlantic salmon. I'm still looking into this whole, you know, the whole thing about, you know, 30 by 30, right? 30% protected oceans, 30% protected lands, and 30% protection for our lakes and rivers by the year 2030. Right now, Canada has 2 very small protected areas on the Great Lakes. I mean, the most valuable freshwater fishery in the world, and we've only identified 2 little areas where we think, let's protect this habitat to make sure the fish have you know, important habitat protected for them, and it doesn't get screwed up by things like, you know, what we just talked about. No, and so there's looking to get one done in the Eastern Basin on the Lake Ontario, and I've been still meeting with stakeholders about that, and Daryl Cronzy and other scientists and fisheries people and fishmongers, and so it's we just put a podcast out with the Glenora Fishery Station. So that's right there at the mouth of the Bay of Quinte. And we met with the head of communications there, Colin Lake, and we talked about the potential of the fishery, recreational and commercial. They've been doing fishery research there for over 100 years. So they've seen the fishery at its best, and they've seen it at its worst. You know, when lake trout were being harvested by the bucket loads out of there 100 years ago, and then when the lake trout population collapsed with the introduction of the sea lamprey, and now the fishing is back, and yet it's not well regarded. And I did in my survey again, you know, and around the Picton area and throughout the Prince Edward County, just popping into grocery stores, restaurants, seeing what's on the menu, and you just don't find locally caught fish on any menus. The handful of old timers that still have those commercial fishing licenses, are bringing their fish in. There's one truck picking them all up, shipping them to a fish processing plant on Lake Erie, where the majority of commercial fishing takes place. They're processed there and shipped to China. So, here this amazing tourism mecca called Prince Edward County, where people come from all over Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa to experience the vineyards and the breweries and the beaches and all the good restaurants. And there's no local food, no local seafood on the menu. It's just,
I am concerned. And I am concerned about our lamprey population. As I said, based on some videos that I've seen, some of the videos that have been shared to CFN, it would hazard for me to suggest that it looks like their numbers are on the rise. Another scary thing, talking about the eastern basin of Lake Ontario, this past week, a grass carp was caught by a commercial fisher in the Bay of Quinte on July 3rd, 2023. The fish was transferred to MNRF and then to DFO, who conducted lab testing and found that it was a fertile female.
Oh, boy.
So starting on July 10th, a joint response was undertaken by DFO MNRF, and over the course of 5 days, no additional grass carp were found. Wow. Well, that's encouraging, but the fact that it's there in the first place is not a good sign.
Yeah. They're popping up here and there and everywhere. And these are little cows of the lake, right? They're just chewing through the weed beds. And, the weed beds aren't as plentiful as they used to be. As we reduce nutrients going into the Great Lakes, the weed beds are being knocked back. And but a good size number of these grass carp could really do damage.
100%. What's upcoming? You've got a lot going on with Bluefish Radio, but what's upcoming in Bluefish Canada, Bluefish Radio, and Lawrence Gunther Outdoors?
Well, we'll be releasing more interviews with stakeholders from Lake Ontario, and we just signed a lease today for 8 acres of land up north here, just on the tip of the Canadian Shield, and we're creating the Bluefish Exploration Center. So we have 1,300 feet of shoreline on this beautiful pristine lake. That's going to be our launch point for that lake and many other lakes and rivers in that area to do research. We have a 1,700 square foot research station that'll hold 6 to 8 researchers, and then we're using canvas tents to bring young people up there. So not just to teach young people to fish, but young people who are interested in fish and fishing and want to help out the researchers and maybe have a career in this, right? So a career in fisheries and biology and restoration, or at least, get involved with it and make it their hobby, their passion. And that's as a charity, we can't just, we're not really expected to teach people a sport. Teaching people a sport, I think we talk about this, is a great thing, but charities have to do something a little bit more significant for the benefit of nature and humanity. So we want to teach these young people how to turn their sport into something even more significant by making it a citizen science and participating in research and data gathering and all of the above.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more, Jay. I do remember Purdy's Fisheries in Sarnia, Ontario serves fish and chips caught by their fleet. There was a guy on the Kettle Point Reservation that served fish and chips out of his food truck. This fish was whatever he caught that morning, and it was spectacular last time I was there. I've been to Purdy's, and I've enjoyed some beautiful Lake Erie perch. So, yes, this is one of those restaurants that gears towards their backyard. So thanks, Jay, for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. We should have, it shouldn't just be one entrepreneur who does this, right?
Yeah.
Who I talked to one down there, and he's buying fish as much as he can buy from the commercial fishers with the licenses. He can sell it, and he puts up his own signs in the grocery stores, and he never has any trouble selling it. He's always looking for more, but it just, he's a one-man show, one-man show.
100%. Well, Lawrence, as always, our time, it just disappears in the blink of an eye. I can't thank you enough for all you do It's nice to have you back. Glad you enjoyed some time with the family. You had a great vacation. You're rejuvenated because you need it. You're going to be busy by the sounds of it in the coming week. So
Yes,
we
sir.
encourage and we look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Well, we just finished week 3 of Ottawa Fish School, so we're quite involved with that. And it's about 18 kids every week who sign up for 5 days of fishing instruction. We do a 1 day at the end to again teach them the finer things of fishing, right? So, but we got 3 more weeks ahead of us, so lots to do.
Right on, dude. Well, listen, you have yourself a great week. We look forward to seeing you next Monday, and keep on keeping on, brother.
Thanks,
we love
buddy.
the show.
Yeah, keep doing what you do too. And thanks, everyone.
Right on. Jay Barnucz is up next after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jay Barnucz in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Doing good, Scotty. Good to be back.
Dude, I'm telling you, you could tell you've been busy. You can tell, like you said, this summer has been a whirlwind for you. You've been on the road. You've been doing a lot of work on our behalf as well as the M&R. But we always look forward to hearing what you're up to next and what you're doing now.
Well, I'm going to share a picture. You see that picture, Scotty?
Yep.
So that's
Beautiful.
so story behind that picture. So last week I did about, 60 hours at work on the road. Got home late Friday night. Saturday, did a bunch of stuff with the family, or tried to. And honestly, dude, like the last thing when your son asks you, let's go fishing on a Sunday, and I want to get up at 4:30, you're like, oh. And I'm up every day at 5:30 for work, right?
Right.
And so there I am, and I didn't sleep well Saturday night. There's a long story that involves you and I, and maybe a drink or two behind the backstage. But anyways, didn't get much sleep Saturday night. On a couple hours of sleep, we head down to Long Point Provincial Park, and Trevor gets his kayak and takes off from the ramp, and Dad's chatting to somebody at the ramp, which Dad always does.
Mm-hmm.
And I look over my shoulder, and that's the picture I got right there. And it was like all my tiredness just kind of washed away at that moment. And it was just a stellar day. We got out. I'm gonna share, if I can do this. I'm gonna see if this is gonna work, because I get a lot of questions about this, and kind of. So we went out and actually explored. We're gonna see if this works. Is that playing?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Okay. So this is what we're doing, Scotty. Trevor's in the right corner. You can see his kayak.
Oof.
And we're smashing bass on swim jigs, like crushing them. And this is part of Long Point Bay. If anyone's been down to Long Point Bay, I'm just going to rewind that just a little bit. And this is all just cattail islands that are out and about all over the marsh. And we work these cattail islands with swim jigs or chatterbaits. What we find is the bladed jigs, like we're using the Berkeley slobber knockers, they work real good if there's a bit of chop on the water. But when it's flat, calm like this, a swim jig is really good. We're using a swim bait trailer, braided line, 40-pound test, medium heavy rod, and we're just pitching it around. You can see in the right of the picture, there's a bunch of really small, tiny cattail beds.
Yeah.
And I'm fishing the big one here. And we just go around in our kayaks, and we're just literally pitching the swim jig. Even to the right of my right shoulder, you'll see a little patch of lily pads.
Yeah.
And then to my left, off my left shoulder, you'll see another little patch of lily pads. And all we're doing is just literally taking that swim jig, and we're just casting it to every little target. And we didn't catch any giants that day, Scotty, but we actually caught, I think, close to 20 largemouth in about 6 hours. And they were all between probably around 13, 14, up to around 8. I think 18 was the biggest one we got. So no giants, but just a solid day. And no one, like, we had a couple of bass boats come in on us. And let's put it this way, dude, we were so far from the nearest ramp that the one guy in the bass boat was like, how did you get here? That's how far out we were in Long Point. We were 2 miles. We went 2 miles from the nearest boat ramp. Like, there was no kayaks have business being in there, but the solitude of it is amazing. And what's great about it is it's a labyrinth. Like, it's almost you can get lost in that marsh. It's so big, and it's fun to do that. Like, I think some people, if they know what's going on in my head, which is how far can I go? And then if people looked at my GPS trail, they'll be like, holy shit, aren't you scared of getting lost? And I'm like, nah, I'll find my way out. But then, of course, the weather, I don't want to be cliche about the weather, man, but the wind was beautiful in the morning. And then that wind picked up it was supposed to be 10K gusting to 15. It was more like 20K gusting to 25. So coming out to get back home, it was a headwind for 2 miles. Took us an hour. What took us 25, 30 minutes in the morning took us almost an hour in the afternoon to get back. Just fighting the wind, and pleasure boaters, because they're all out boating around. So yeah, and then we came home, unpacked, and I dropped Trevor off at Domino's, and I went and had a nap on the couch. That's how it goes, man.
A well-deserved nap at that.
Yeah.
Jay, as I said, it's amazing that again, Trevor is blossoming into this remarkable angler, which we all knew he would become.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of him actually turning the engine, turning the key, and doing it. But as I said, I do get a smile when I see his how-tos, and when he's holding up that 6-pound bass. Oof.
Yeah. Hey, like, I'm not going to share a picture tonight, because I know I shared it with you, Scotty, and Jimmy and Lawrence. Trevor just broke his personal best largemouth today while I was at work. And as a dad, like, there's nothing better than getting a picture of a fish like that when I'm at work. It hurts, but it's a good hurt. Like,
It's a good hurt.
And like, it's his personal best largemouth. I still think his personal best smallmouth he caught with the Raytrowskis when I was in the other boat. So, Alicia, TJ, if you're on, I know, Alicia, you're in the back. I know your personal best, or his personal best in your boat, is still protected, but his largemouth, and there's something special about a 6-pound plus largemouth bass. They are not easy to catch. A 6-pound smallmouth, they're out there, and they're not easy to catch either. But if I had to make one was more difficult than the other, it's a 6-pound largemouth. They're solitary, they're very wary, they're very shy, and I'll let Trevor break the news on social media formally and give the details. But I don't know all the details either, because I'm on the road. So kudos to that kid and let's be honest, he didn't enjoy yesterday very much on the way in. He broke his prop on his pedal drive. So we were pedaling, his prop broke. He made a little boo-boo putting his prop down. So we had to paddle in that wind. And so our big Dos Kings became paddle kayaks in a headwind.
Yikes.
So yeah, anyways, it worked out fine. And then he redeemed himself today. And the fish gods are funny like that. Hey, Scotty, you can have a real crisis of a day, and then the next day, bam. But to be honest, anybody in this chat tonight, if I took you out to Long Point Bay, 2 miles out in the marsh, no one's around, and you caught a half dozen largemouth bass on a swim jig almost at will, no one's going to complain.
Nope.
But Trevor, what drives Trevor is he's never happy, which is a little unhealthy, but I get it. Because I'm the same way, right? Yep. So yeah.
As Alicia, he's putting time on the water 100%. He is.
Yeah.
And we don't get the behind the scenes that you do. Yeah. All we see are the smiles and the good times, but
he's dialed in and he's motivated, right? Like, that's the thing about some of the best years I've had fishing are the years, the more I fish, the more I'm on the water, the better I get. And it doesn't matter what I'm catching. It could be a brook trout, walleye, bass. The more you fish, the more in tune you are with what's going on out there. And I attribute a lot of that to just being on the water and just being dialed in, and you make those adjustments at will. And I don't care what species you're chasing, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why fishing guides are so consistently good at producing fish. And for a lot of us, even when we're on the water, we want to catch more fish, but we don't always, how should I put this? Like, you could be sitting on a school of big walleye, Scotty. And if you haven't walleye fished for a year, you're going to lose a bunch of fish that first day, and you're going to be pissed off. Sorry to say that, but like, you're going to be mad because you're not dialed in. You're not dialed into that bite, the feel, like the reaction time, like the cadence of your lure. Like, there's so many things that have to be dialed in. But time on the water lets you get dialed in, right?
100%. I have the luxury of usually going up a day or two before the retreat, just to make sure that, those schools of walleye are where they're supposed to be. So you get it. Yeah, exactly. you get an idea. And the one thing is, I always like to make sure, our guests have walleye to eat the first night. So I always like to get, a half decent amount of fish just set aside for the guests. But you're right. I mean, you spend enough time, say, on Horwood, and what's so interesting is you can always use those as your backdrops, as your plan Bs.
Yeah.
I always love experiencing new water. So, just get out there the first day, make sure the schools are where they're supposed to be, and then start, experiencing new waters. And there's no shortage of new water on Horwood. There's still lots of places on Horwood I have yet to go, but I'm looking forward to getting there again. Jay, speaking of guides, I thought of this, and of course, walleyes. We always talk about the cheeks, right? We always talk about the walleye cheeks. Addicted Fishing shared this video this week, and they're taking the cheeks out of some salmon.
Yep.
Have you ever done this?
I've not, but I've seen this done. And it's funny when you look at this, reminds me of when I discovered walleye wings.
Yep.
Okay. Like, there's so many ways to clean a fish. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I got to find a new show to watch. Okay. And there's a show called Alone on Netflix.
Yes.
And it's one of those shows that they drop you off in the wilderness. You got to fend for yourself. And there's so many ways to clean a fish, so many ways to clean a rabbit, so many ways to, like, the one dude killed a wolverine. I don't know if he eats it or not, but there's so much meat on these fish and so many ways to harvest fish. And I love this ingenuity that we're not wasting anything. Like, nothing I dislike more than is a poorly filleted fish. And if I'm not perfect, because I don't clean a lot of fish. And so if I mess up the fillet, like, you know what I mean, dude, you're going along with your knife and you slip and let's say you go through the spine, the wrong side, and you're like, give me a break. Now I have to do this like first aid on my fillet because I messed it up. I hate wasting fish, right? And I love it, the ingenuity like that. I've never done that on salmon, but I'm going to consider that. I don't keep a lot of salmon. That's cool. But, the walleye between the cheeks, the fillets, and now you got walleye wings. Yeah. Dude, there ain't much left on that walleye.
No, there really isn't. And, it was said to me in the very beginning, and of course, this is a salmon. This isn't a walleye, but walleye are swimming fillets. 80% of their body mass is edible. 80% is what we could consider a food. And it's amazing that, I think it's just as high with some other fish, perhaps maybe not as high for a bowfin necessarily, but I was intrigued when I saw this, and I thought of you right away because I know you love your salmon and your trout, but I've never
That's I've never heard of. I've never seen that done for. I've heard of that for salmon. I've never actually seen them do it. That's cool. And then I see, Rob Campbell. what's a walleye wing? You got to Google it. Google it, Rob. Walleye wing. It's basically the pelvic fins, the pelvic, so pectoral pelvic fins, and you basically just carve out the pelvic fins. But there's like a chunk of meat. Tell me if I'm wrong, Scott. There's a chunk 100%. Of meat between the two pelvic fins, and so you just, let's say you're breading your fillets, you're breading your cheeks. You just roll that walleye wing, and it's got like two wings. It's got the two pelvic fins. and you just drop that in your fryer, and it's just another nugget of meat that comes off the fish. It was actually, I think it was a few years ago that it was Brent Bocek, my buddy Brent Bocek. I watched him do, I've heard of it. Then I watched him do I think it was a Facebook Live or something where he actually cooked the walleye wings. I'm like, damn, those look tasty. Like, they look good. Have you had a walleye wing, Scotty?
I have. You can actually order them if you're interested in buying them. They're
really?
available, so you can purchase them. But they have basically taken off on Lake Winnipeg. That's where it really took flight. Because of course those greenbacks, there's so much meat on.
Right,
on
they're so big. Right,
they get so big, and when you do a fillet for walleye, you notice right away that there is a good chunk right by those fins that you're missing out, that you're losing. And if you just insert your knife a special way on the bottom side of a walleye,
yeah,
you can cut that section out, and you literally just pull it out like you would be eating a chicken wing. And the meat is so tender. And if it's done right, it's absolutely delicious. So not only can you do it yourself, but you can purchase them as well. And as Jay says, it is delicious meat.
George is chiming in. I think 80% a little high for walleye flesh. Fillets comprise 33 to 38% of the total weight of the fish of walleye. So there you go.
Right on.
Yeah,
They are.
If anyone knows about cleaning walleyes and how much meat's on a walleye, it's George Morgan, that's for sure.
They are swimming fillets. I tell you, the amount of meat that you can get off a walleye is absolutely remarkable.
Well, it's a good point you talk about the greenbacks and the walleye wings, because most of the walleye wings that I never had them, to be honest, but because I don't do a lot of walleye fishing, but most of the guys that I know that do that, they're catching those bigger, like Lake Erie, Lake Winnipeg walleyes, where I think the walleyes I catch, like, I'm not going to say I catch a lot of small ones, but I do. And the walleye wing is like not worth my time, I think, on those little guys. But if you're catching these, like, we're talking 24 to 30 inch walleyes, and, there's a lot of wing on that walleye for sure.
100%. You get into some of those 6 and 7 pounders, even a 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Jay, you're 100% right. The belly meat that a lot of folks, they'll just discard, because we're always told to get rid of that fat. That's not what we want. But if you take the time and you have the patience to do it, you can actually get a good chunk of meat. And that meat, some would say, is probably the most tender on a walleye around the belly. So
and perch are the same, right? Like I do a lot of perch filleting, and especially in the wintertime, and a lot of folks don't get that belly meat off there, and that's a lot of fillet you're not getting off. Right? They cut that fillet right down, and they don't go right to the belly. Like, all that's left is the ribs when I'm done. Right? Yeah. That the belly's basically cut in half and folded over. Right? Like that's, and the same with walleye. That's all edible for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So where are you at now, Jay? And what do you got tasked to do?
You know what? I'm down in Windsor again. I'm still down here doing my remote sensing work. We finished up what we could last week. We got chased off at the last minute. Well, I'm sure you heard about the tornado, or Sarnia got some bad weather.
Yeah,
we were part of it. Like, thank God. I'm going to show you guys. I think this is a good time to talk about this app. Now, I'm using the paid version. This is called, where am I here? Lightning Tracker. Okay, I'm actually going to close it to show. See the yellow lightning bolt?
Yeah. On our right, yeah.
Okay, so it's called Lightning Tracker, or My Lightning Tracker, and what it does is you set yourself up. It's a kind of a Google Maps looking. There's a yellow circle.
Yeah.
Okay, you can set the range on it, and if there's active lightning within that circle that you set, you get notification on your phone. So, and if you're into the outdoors and you can get a cell signal, I use this all the time. I actually started using that for baseball. When I was coaching ball, those aluminum bats, lightning, aluminum. And we thought, so some of the coaches got me into that. And I'm like, man, I could use this for work and for fun. And so even with the Lightning app for fishing, I think it's fantastic. And you get notifications. So last week I had, there was 2 huge storms, but they were both about 20 kilometers, one to the north, one to the south. And that's when we finished up, because there was a third cell coming in from the west. And then we ran back to the truck, loaded up. We were off the water. It's amazing how fast you can load when things are going crazy around you. Now, we didn't get caught in any rain or hail. But literally 10 minutes after we got in the truck and we're driving away, like we basically had to pull over. It was wild. The weather on when was that? That was Thursday afternoon down here.
And I don't envy you out working, doing whatever in that heat that's upcoming this week. There it is.
Yeah.
Gross.
I won't lie to you, Scotty. Last week I put in some serious long days, and I said to our management team, I said, I'm not doing that this week. Like, I'm kind of sticking to my 8-9 hour day.
Yeah.
Even today, we drove, like, it's a 3-hour haul with the boat down here. So we got out on the water. We put 2 hours in, got off the water. Basically, today was just a normal day. No overtime today. I'm not going to bother, man. I'm going to. The folks that are working with me, they're going to get so worn out. But yeah, and then just get time to get stocked up, get back out. But yeah, every day this week, the temperature starts with a 3. Yeah. Every day this week, it's 30, 30, 30, 30, 31, 32, 33. So it's going to be a long week, but we've had such humid weather like this summer. It hasn't been overly hot though, Scotty. Like, we haven't hit a lot of 30-degree weather, but it's been really humid, right? Yeah. So we'll see how this goes the next few days, but it'll be lots of water and lots of sunscreen and the usual.
It's interesting you say that, because I would say last summer was the summer of wind. It seemed like every day was a windy day. This year is the summer of humidity. And as we mentioned a couple lives back, that, even during a north wind, when a front passes, usually that dries up the air. And I would have to say you could count on one hand how many north wind days that we've had humid events along with it. So it's been surprisingly different this year than any other year. And of course, when you see the temperatures of our oceans, the Gulf of Mexico, lake temperature, it's through the roof. And
I'll find though, and I think I mentioned this last week, I'm surprised how cool, like slightly cool, some of the lake temperatures are where I've been fishing the last couple of weeks. Like Inner Bay at Long Point still like 74, 73, 75 maybe at midday. Like, we should be pushing closer to 80. Not that I want it to be that hot, but we're definitely seeing I don't know what it is, man. It just hasn't been that hot this summer, like hot, like over 30.
Yep.
But now we're starting to see that now, and I think we're going to see that for the next couple of weeks. So
agreed. You shared a link I saw in the comments, a YouTube link.
Oh yeah. So get this. So I'm out fishing. Of course, I'm waiting for Junior to finish his next lap around the cattails. So I sitting in a kayak for 6 hours. Sometimes it's nice to stand up. What's nice thing about Long Point Bay is it's sandy bottom and you can get out once in a while. So I got up and I stood there and I actually put a YouTube video together on the fly. Been getting tons of questions about our kayak setup and how, like, accessories I've put on it. And just, I put photos up online, but it doesn't do it justice. You have to really walk people through all the accessories, because think about if you've seen a fishing kayak, Scotty, and ours is not, there's some crazy examples out there, but there's so many little components packed into a little boat, right? Like, there's like little attachments and little storage areas. So I decided to do a little YouTube video. So I did a little filming, totally off the cuff, a lot of ooms and ahs in the video. Like, I didn't do a script, and I'm out there like, just, been fishing for 6 hours and I'm totally exhausted and I'm sweaty, but I said, I'm going to do this video. So I did it. And so I threw it up on YouTube yesterday or last night. And when I got home, and if folks want to go check it out, you can go see. And my kayak is a Das King Kratos, which is the exact same kayak Trevor has, and more or less the two kayaks are identical, which is actually nice because when we set them up, it's really quick. It's really a quick process. And and we still have more work to do on the kayaks. We have some more accessories we want to add, but like a lot of fine tuning now. I think we have it where we want it right now. So
right on. Alicia was mentioning that when she was on the open, bass were still spawning on the
snow. Yeah. And Alicia, what were the water temps? Just throw it in the chat. I'm really curious about what the water temps were in the St. Lawrence, because I know that out on Erie. So if I go, we were in Inner Bay at Long Point, but the Outer Bay towards Nanticoke, like we're only seeing temps like in the high 70s, in the low 70s. So like the smallmouth are on beds until, there we go, 71. So smallmouth are on beds until the high 60s, low 70s. Like they're not technically done spawning until 75 when it's official like summer period. So that's wild that they're still sitting on beds. When we were out off of Nanticoke area fishing the first week of bass opener, so that's zone, just so everyone knows, that's zone 16. Zone 19 is Lake Erie, zone 16 is inland, but that's the fourth Saturday in June. So it's the later season, it's the fourth Saturday. And like we were fishing, it was 68, 65. Like those fish were full on. They were bedding fish in our area. And I think a lot of the bigger ones we caught were females that hadn't spawned yet, that were moving up to find their males. The males had just built their nest or their reds, and the females were coming up. And that was, that would have been like June 25th, 26th, around that time. Wild, just wild.
And it is like, I mean, things like this, like Ed's comment, 10, 15 years ago on Lake Go, I had 84 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. It keeps us like sort of, I don't know, like the guys don't get crazy. Yes, the water temperatures are high, but they're not as high as they can be and how high they've been in the past. So
it's there are the water temperatures globally, they are going up steadily, but we're seeing these sort of, it's almost like weather. There's climate and then there's weather, right? So climate kind of is a long-term trend, right? But weather is doing this, and weather can change daily. It can change weekly. It can, and interannually too, it can change, right? So weather does what weather does. And we're seeing, you just got to kind of roll with the punches. And I can't tell you how important though, Scotty, water temperature is when you're out fishing. Like I look at my temperature gauge. I think my depth gauge is number one for me. Number two, if I had to put them in order, GPS, right? And I don't even need to have I'm not even talking fancy GPS. I'll just use my, I can use my Navionics app on my phone, right?
Yeah.
But number three, if I had a choice for electronics, it's going to be water temperature. Yeah. And I'd even have that before I had like side scan and some of the other things. Like water temperature, especially when you're in those bookend seasons, spring and fall. Summer, it's helpful still, but spring and fall, when fish are in that transition, water temperature is everything. Well, I shouldn't say that for all species, but for a lot of the sport fish, when the fall temps are cooling down, and bass are kind of maybe they're becoming more dormant, but then we're seeing like steelhead move in and speed up, right? Like there's, like the inner bay of Long Point, for example, it stays warm for a long time. And we won't see our big steelhead runs in the fall until the lake starts to cool down. Lake Ontario fish, steelhead, will run earlier because Lake Ontario is cool like year round, right? So Alicia, good point about like the St. Lawrence is the outflow of Lake Ontario. So all this Lake Erie water, which has warmed, goes over the falls into Lake Ontario, and then it cools again because the lake is so deep and cold, right? 100%. And all this plays into it. But water temperature is so important. And a big place where that's good. That's a good point, Jay. You have a way to check temperature at various depths. So what is that device called, Scotty? I'm not a troller, but
it was the Fish Hawk, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Fish Hawk. That's it. So the Fish Hawk device is the best way to check water temperature at different depths. Now, Jay, if you're fishing for bass, let's say, the big thing I think for a lot of anglers don't realize is you just got to know where the thermocline is. To me, this is my opinion. But if you know where the thermocline is, and that actually affects walleye too, because if you're in a lake where walleye are feeding on perch and the lake's generally shallow, your thermocline doesn't play into it that much. If you're fishing a shield lake like Horwood, and you have ciscos in their diet, and ciscos are driven by thermocline location because they need to be below that thermocline to be happy, but they will come above the thermocline to feed and then go back down. A lot of the deeper walleye are right on that thermocline. And if you can find a shoal that comes up through the thermocline and comes back down where the top of the shoal or the hump is just above that thermocline, that can be money. That could be absolute money for walleye. Like,
dude, you just gave away my seat. Well, no, I shouldn't say that.
Sorry, dude. But that's how I always caught him in Quebec. When we go up there, like we're talking, you're surrounded by 80 feet of water and you got schools of ciscos out. You can see them. And you got a big rock, literally a big reef that comes up. And those, basically the walleye don't want to be below the thermocline. They'll chase, but they'll come back up. But they'll basically wait for those ciscos to come up. And those walleye, and actually Gord Piser's talked about this too, where muskies will stay above that thermocline and they'll suspend out waiting for those ciscos, but they're relating to the reef. The reef is here, but those muskies are moving off the reef to feed, and walleyes will do that too. And these are a lot of these fish are cisco feeders that are doing that, right? Because they don't want to go down, but they're going to basically suspend along that thermocline to catch the prey as it comes up.
Jay, you ask a really good question, and I know Jason can answer it. It's not hard.
It's not hard. And the way that I do it is I just basically use my electronics. So if you take your 2D sonar or your down scan and just turn up your gain, just sit out there and turn up your gain to the point where you can't even clearly see your fish anymore, but you'll see where the thermocline is. So if you want to know on your lake, Jay, what the thermocline is, go out to deep water and turn up the gain, and you'll see the thermocline. And then turn it back down to fish again, because the too much gain will mess up so you can't see your little marks, but it will show you the thermocline. There's a reservoir down home near called Deer Creek, which we go to. Everyone knows Norfolk area. And there's a thermocline there. It's 30 feet of water. They stock trout. And if you don't know where the thermocline is, you won't catch the trout there. And you can basically, for most lakes in Ontario, use the thermocline. Scotty, it's usually around 30 feet, give or take. Like it's kind of in that, like it might be 25, it could be 35, but you know, in some lakes and maybe further north, your thermocline might be a little higher in the water column, but sort of in that, I'm going to say from 20 to 35 feet is kind of typically where it is. So there, 6 meters. George, I knew you'd chime in. 6 meter thermocline. So that's 18 feet, 20 feet. There you go.
He's full of great advice and might suggest that the most important electronic that an angler has in his arsenal is a coffee maker.
Well, yeah, it's true. Like I have to say that a good coffee maker, and I learned this years ago, my favorite coffee maker is actually my Coleman. It's a drip, but it percolates in the back.
Yes. Yeah.
And it weighs like 10 pounds. Like it's a heavy coffee maker, but I don't need hydro. I can just put it up. If you just give me a propane burner and I can make coffee wherever I want. Although, dude, I'll tell you, I'm getting hooked on, they make some good instant coffee out there these days. I'm getting kind of lazy at work, and sometimes taking a boat through Tim Hortons is a bit of a pain. And I've been playing around with some nice, Starbucks makes some good instant coffee, Scotty. I got to tell you, it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, we have it at work as well. And I have succumbed to the Starbucks as well. Jay, as always, dude, we want to get you going. You've got a long week ahead of you, some hot days. You've been busy all weekend. We can't thank you enough for the time that you spend with us, and you stick around till the end, dude. Tip of the hat to you, and we look forward to seeing you next Monday and hope you get through this week and stay cool, my friend.
I'll be good. We'll see you guys next week, and we'll have some more fishing stories for you, I hope. Thanks, everyone. Jay Pierce, anytime, buddy. You reach out anytime. You know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, Ed. See you guys later.
Right on. Dave, time to take us away, my friend. As I said, keep our thoughts with the Shaw family.
Yes.
Show completely dedicated to our beloved Steve Shaw, who right now is in hospital and is fighting an inflammation of his pancreas. So we hope that he turns the tide and turns the corner and starts to get well real soon.
Absolutely.
Love you all. Take care. Have a great week. And we will see you next Monday. All the best. Dave, take us away.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.